What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and before we get into anything today, I just want to let you know that we are going to be live twice this week. We are going to be live once tomorrow night around 7 p.m. Eastern time to watch the debut of Chris Sale in 2022. I figured that'd be a better game than Wednesday, so we're going to switch it up and do Tuesday this week. If you haven't been, they're a ton of fun, and I highly recommend, but we're not stopping there. We're also going to do Friday. We're going to go live on Friday around 7 p.m. Eastern time as well to watch a Red Sox Yankees game. We haven't watched one together yet this year, and I think that is going to be a ton of fun. So again, I highly recommend you guys coming through. That is Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time and Friday 7 p.m. Eastern time. Anyways, man, oh man, what a series did we just watch. That to me felt like a classic early 2000s Red Sox Yankees series, just an absolute slugfest. There was some good, there was some bad, and at the end of the day, the Red Sox made a statement in this series, not only to the Yankees, but to the rest of the American League. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about everything that went down in this Yankees series, the good, the bad, and of course the ugly. And we're going to talk about why this series was so important and what statement this Red Sox team made that makes them so dangerous to every other team. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys are hitting the like button on these videos, helps it out a ton. And finally, if you enjoy this video, make sure you share with a friend or family member who loves the Red Sox as much as you do. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Let's start with the offense in this one because there was a ton of it. And we're going to start with the first game, and that's Rafael Devers. But essentially, he was the entire offense the first game. He continues to be Garrett Cole's father in this series, technically really the Yankees' father in every game he plays. He had 2 home runs against Garrett Cole in this series for 5 RBIs, and they were absolute tanks on pitches that most people don't even touch. Rafael Devers is just one of the most insane talents in all of baseball. It's unfortunate that we didn't get to see him in the rest of this series, but in the first game and the only game he was in, he did a ton of damage, a true Yankee killer, and we love to see it. And if Rafael Devers is the Yankee killer, Alex Verdugo is their assassin, because Alex Verdugo had some extremely clutch hits in this series, including a game-tying RBI in the 8th of the 3rd game and the walk-off hit in that same game as well in the 10th inning. And Alex Verdugo has been on an absolute tear lately. He's really coming together in that 5-6 spot in our lineup and becoming a legitimate force for this Red Sox team. In the last 15 games, he's hitting .323, and he has had some really clutch hits in those games. I honestly don't even know where to go next. There was so much offense to talk about that we could literally sit here all day and talk about it, but we're going to go to Trevor Story, who had a great series as well. Kind of an under the radar great series because his first home run's a little bit forgotten because it was in that blowout 12-5 game, but he still had that home run, and he also had one of the most important hits in his Red Sox career so far with a bases clearing double in the final game of this series to really put that game under wraps. Vasquez also had an incredible series too. He had multiple RBI doubles in this series, a lot of clutch RBI doubles actually, and a home run in the finale of this series as well. In my opinion, he got absolutely snubbed for the All-Star game. I get Trevino's having a really great year, and I get Alejandro Kirk is a great talent, but Christian Vasquez not even being looked at really, coming in 5th for All-Star voting is a little bit absurd in my mind. He has been absolutely incredible lately. JD also brought himself back to life in this series as well. A couple of different hits in this one, but we're going to highlight the opposite field home run in this series to tie the game at the time, 6-6. And JD Martinez coming to life is huge for this Red Sox team. We talked about it in the last couple of series recaps where the Red Sox big 3 really weren't doing anything, and that was a huge problem. But when they do stuff, this Red Sox team is incredible, and JD Martinez over his last 7 games is hitting .373 with that home run, which was the first one I believe since Seattle. I could be wrong, but it has been a long time since JD Martinez has hit a home run. So him coming back to life is huge for this Red Sox team. We also have to talk about Refsnyder, who has come in and really played above his role as this sort of bench bat slash defensive replacement slash kind of every tool man in the outfield. He has played above and beyond that. And in this series, he had a couple of clutch hits, including a home run that tied the game at that point, and he has just been absolutely electric. I'm honestly surprised he hasn't gotten a little bit more looks towards a starting role in right field over Jackie Bradley Jr. I understand Alex Cora trying to play matchups and whatnot, but Ref Snyder has been on an absolute tear. Righty lefty, doesn't matter. Last guy I want to talk about is Jeter Downs, and you guys know my opinion on Jeter Downs. We've talked about it in videos, we've talked about it on live streams, but I have to give credit where credit's due because Jeter comes up. He was in Worcester when he got called up. He came straight to the game and ended up going straight into the game when he got there as a pinch runner and scored a run in that game. He also had his first major league hit, which came in the bottom of the 10th inning and helped the Red Sox win that game. And in the second game that he was in as a substitute replacement for a batter, he had another great, I don't even know, this technically wasn't a hit. DJ LeMahieu fumbled the ball, but he still was able to get a run in with the bases loaded, and he made a fantastic play at third base. This is some really great stuff from a guy who's been struggling lately, especially in the minor leagues, and I'm hoping he turns it around. I would love to see Jeter Downs do well. I still don't know if he has the potential to be an impact player every day, but he had a fantastic series, so we must highlight that as well. All in all, this Red Sox offense was on fire. This is the Red Sox offense that we've been desperately wanting for these last couple of series. And even though they lost 2 games, they were 1 run away from 1 game, and they kind of got blown out in the second one, but we won't even talk about that. What I do want to talk about with this offense, though, is that this offense sent a message in this series. They went up against a top 5, possibly even top 3 pitching staff in all of baseball and faced their most difficult pitchers to hit, and they got to every single one of them. Even in the game they got blown out, they got to Nestor Cortez, and that is huge. That means something. That means that the Red Sox are, when firing on all cylinders, one of, if not the best offenses in all of baseball. They went into this series without Rafael Devers for 3 games, with our big 3 kind of in a slump. All 3 of them, Xander, JD, and Devers, were all kind of hitting poorly, and yet we still come in and get to a top 5 pitching staff in all of baseball. That is huge. And more importantly than that, they got to one of, if not the best bullpens in baseball. They had clutch hits, they had late inning hits, they had hits to tie games. They were firing on all cylinders, and that's the best possible thing that we can have for this team going into a Tampa series that's going to be tough, and of course another Yankees series that's going to be tough as well. To have this sort of offensive explosion, especially in the last 2 games of this series, is huge. Let's talk about the pitching in this series as well. While it was a great series for the offense, the same can't be said for our starting pitching. Winkowski got tagged up a bit in the first game. He went 5 innings, allowed 6 runs, and it was just kind of a tough game for him. Maybe his worst game of the year so far. He was missing a lot of pitch locations. He let up a lot of really hard hit balls, including 2 home runs, a grand slam. It wasn't fantastic, but on the plus side, I don't think this is what we're going to see from Winkowski here on out. I think this was more of a stumble than it was a fall. I think he regains it, and I still think he can be a pretty legitimate force in this Red Sox rotation. As for Connor Siebold, who got the ball in game 2, he had another really tough game against a tough opponent. He only made it 2 2/3 innings, allowing 7 runs. He did get injured, and I'm starting to legitimately wonder if Connor Siebold can be a major league pitcher at this point. I understand it's still really early in his career. I get that. I get that that's only, 4 starts into his major league career, and I can't really judge off of 4 starts, but it is definitely concerning that every single good team that he faces, he gets absolutely slaughtered. So that's something to keep your eye on for sure, but we won't see him for a while. The good news is that his replacement will most likely be Chris Sale. So probably a little bit better of a replacement there. So we'll take that. It's good news for the Red Sox. The only starting pitcher to have a legitimately good game in this series was once again Cutter Crawford, who for some reason just performs so well when we need him the most, and he's making a legitimate case to stay in this rotation, at least until the rotation is fully healthy. At the very least, he's making a legitimate case to be a bullpen piece going forward. He went 5 innings, only allowing 1 run and striking out 6. Again, very good stat line against a very good team, and his stuff is just nasty. I think with him, it's a lot of mental stuff, and once he gets mentally set, he's good to go. Pivetta finished this series off, and he again imploded, and this is starting to get a little concerning for me. He only made it into the 3rd inning and allowed 6 runs to score. It's just really tough to watch because Nick Pivetta right now is supposed to be our anchor, that one guy who is still a major league caliber pitcher on this roster basically, and he imploded twice in a row, and I don't think we're going to keep getting this from Pivetta, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on just because it's 2 in a row against teams that we really need him to compete against. He just simply didn't. The bullpen had a wild series. They had 3 pretty decent games, and 1 game where they suffered a little bit, but also one of those pitchers was Jackie Bradley Jr., who, by the way, hit 90 on the gun and was throwing absolute missiles into the plate. He came out after the game and said he was taking it easy. Maybe we throw Jackie Bradley Jr. in a relief role if that's easy for Jackie Bradley. There were a couple of guys who did impress me though. The first guy being Ort, who made his second big league appearance, I believe, this year, and he shut down a pretty dangerous Yankees lineup, actually the most dangerous lineup in all of baseball. And when he went in, he faced Judge, Stanton, he faced Hicks, he faced all those guys, and he didn't strike anybody out, but through 1 2/3 innings, he only allowed 1 hit. So maybe this is another guy who gets a look at putting himself into a bullpen role and really help bolster this bullpen. As for the rest of the guys, Brazier had a little bit of a tough game, but he also came into the 9th in the last game of the series and shut the Yankees down. I have to shout out Sawamura, who got really helped out by the umps in the last game, but still managed to shut down the Yankees lineup for 2 innings. So as much as I don't like Sawamura, he did really well in this series. Schreiber continues to do well. Strom continues to do well. Howe continues to do well. And this, in my opinion, was one of the best performances by the bullpen we've seen this year. Yes, there was a game or two where they let up some runs, but at the same time, they were able to keep the Red Sox in most of these games while their starting pitching really didn't. Oh, the only person who kept them in games was Cutter Crawford. But besides that, the starting pitching kind of let you down and the bullpen was able to bring you back up. All in all, this series was important. And not just because of the outcome, right? We probably could have gotten a better outcome, even possibly won this series at some point. But what it showed from the Red Sox was fight. It showed their inability to quit, and that is huge going forward. Like we've been talking about throughout this entire video, there are currently 12 people on the IL for the Red Sox. Some of them important, some of them guys that maybe their holes have been filled better than they could have filled themselves, but still 12 people on the IL is a lot. Not to mention you've got guys sore, you've got Xander Bogaerts, who's probably still dealing with that injury to his leg, you've got Rafael Devers, who is on the bench right now with soreness. So their ability to come back and tie this series in 2 games where they showed some true resilience is huge, and it's an important message going forward. This AL East division and this AL wildcard race in general is going to be a battle. You have the Seattle Mariners, who have won, what, 9 straight now? You've got the Baltimore Orioles, who are dead even right now. They're only 3 games out of a wild card spot. It is going to be a battle. So for them to be able to come into a Yankees game where the Yankees are the hottest team on the planet, they just crushed the Pittsburgh Pirates, and to go in and take 2 out of 4 is huge. And in my opinion, it means something. It really does. And it means that these guys won't quit. But I want you guys to let me know what you think down below. So let me know what you think of everything that happened in this Yankees series, good and bad. Let me know what you think of the current state of the Red Sox right now, again, good and bad. And let me know what you think of the Red Sox season in general. Where do we go from here? Let me know all your thoughts down below. As always, if you've made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button. Clearly enjoy the content, you might as well hit the sub button. You also might as well hit the like button too. It helps these out a ton. And again, you enjoyed the content if you made it to the end of this video. Last thing I'm going to ask from you guys is to share this video with a friend or family member. If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance that they'll enjoy it too. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.